Lesson 80. 3 Lessons from David and Goliath. The story of David and Goliath is one of the popular stories in the Bible. This story was not the beginning of David's greatness, and it was not the end or what defined him. He had his preparation from the beginning for this specific moment, and God had a plan for him, and he knew God was with him all the time. As much as the Philistines were stronger than the Israelites, it was their pride which brought them down, thinking they were greater than the God of Israel. No one believed that God could save the Israelites, and they all feared the Philistines when they were challenged. But God's plan is far greater than our plans, and his thoughts are far higher than our thoughts. Here are the 3 main lessons from the story of David and Goliath. First, be careful when you are at the point of greatness. Many people in this story represent themselves more as Goliath than as David. We all believe that our strength can take us to where we want to be, but that pride Goliath had was his downfall. They knew Israelites were in a weak position, and they underestimated the power of their living God. One thing we must learn is that at the point when you think you are great is where it is you are weak the most. Be careful if you think you stand strong, because you might be sinking if you are not paying attention. Most of the time when we achieve something great and have success in our plans, it is where we are most vulnerable. And it is easy to make a rash decision which can tarnish everything you ever built. This can happen when you fall in love, or when you make huge profits, especially those who win the lottery, or even when you gain fame of some kind. It is easy to forget the principles you abide by and make costly decisions. Goliath, when he was the Philistine champion, he thought he was the greatest one ever, but that very pride was the one which brought him down, and he was humbled. The reason this happens is because God doesn't want you to think you are above everything or think yourself more important than others. That is why the greater things in this world are mostly defeated by the weak and the unexpected. It is important to acknowledge God in everything you do. Whatever you achieve, you must realize it is not only through your strength, but it is also through God's favor that you are able to make it through, and God will teach new ways and give you new experiences for you to grow. Secondly, it takes time. What David did to Goliath was probably the easiest task he ever had, because first of all, he gave Goliath a little bit of a background information of how he dealt with the lion and the bear, and even though they do not carry any weapon, David considered them more righteous creature than Goliath, who he called the uncircumcised Philistine, and he said, if God was able to rescue him from them, how much will it be from you? A person who doesn't know or acknowledge God. To have such courage, it cannot be built in a day. You have to be committed to God and learn and understand his ways to know that there is no one who is greater than him, and nothing can harm or stop you to fulfill the dream you want to achieve. The knowledge of God and understanding his instructions was David's greatest weapon. Before you meet your Goliath, which gave David the breakthrough, winning the favor of his people, you must go through the lions and bears in your life. Build your character through the test of time, and come through to the other side stronger. Not only did David defeat the giants in his life, but he always sings God's praises and acknowledging him in everything he does. And this brings us to the last point. God will never leave you. How comes did God show David so much favor? How did God mention that David was a man after his own heart? The secret is found on the book of Psalm 1:1-6, when David said that blessed is the man who does not walk on the counsel of the wicked, nor stand on the way of the sinner, nor sit on the seat of the mockers, but his delight is on the law of the Lord. He will be like a tree planted by the streams of water, which yield its fruit in season, and his leaves never wither. Even when Samuel went to anoint him, He was not even among his brothers. He was tending his father's sheep. He desires to spend time alone to become the good shepherd who will lay down his life for his sheep on whatever happens, and the way he took care of the sheep gave him credibility to take care of God's people. The time alone he had on the field gave him space to seek God, give him praise, and continually acknowledging his greatness. He didn't go on his own way to find position in the army or try to seek his own righteousness. He humbled himself before God, and when the time was right, God lifted him up. Are you going to be Goliath or David in the making? One goes for greatness and pride, believing on their own strength, and the other humbles before God, committing his plans and rewarded greatness from him. To reach the true greatness, which is meant for you, you have to take it day by day in your walk with God, because he knows you better than you know yourself, and commit to him. Because the more you give your life for him, the more he will give out the best he has for your good.